welcome to biology, group B. You are at home today. Group A is over here with me. They are waving. You can't see them. They're all hyped up today. I'm not really sure. Oh gosh. They're really hyped up today. They're dancing right now and you can't see them. Anyway, I hope group B, you're going to need to watch this video, and then there's going to be 2 questions that are posted. Maybe more. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this. But there's going to be some questions that are posted on the Google form afterwards. So make sure that you do get those. Again, there's no makeup on these. Once you have this is your assignment. You are to be watching this video and completing your work. Do make sure that you get those turned in by midnight tonight. The assignment closes at midnight, and then it does tell me if you submitted it after that. All right, those of you who are here, tell me you have a do now. So in your do now section in your binders, open it up and write down which characteristic of life you think is the most important and why. Now, normally whenever we do this and it's not in the middle of a pandemic, I would come around and I would star each of your things, but I'm not going to because you're coughing a lot today. So I'm not coming anywhere near you, cesspools. So, write it down.
Wait, like homeostasis?
Since I was absent, which one do I write this in?
Just on the front. This is not like Mrs. Boyle's class. When you were in Mrs. Boyle's class, you had to like write down the question and the answer every day, and if you missed it, you had to do it again. You don't have to do that for here. You only have to do your do nows if you're in class.
Is this talking about like homeostasis?
Right, one of those characteristics of life that we looked at.
Reproduction.
Someone just said reproduction. Tell me which one you think is the most important. Someone said reproduction. Why? I'm not ready.
Because there wouldn't be life if that wasn't.
Otherwise, there would not be life, right? So he said there would not be life if there wasn't reproduction. Someone else tell me which one they think is the most important.
Homeostasis.
Homeostasis. Why do you think homeostasis?
It affects everything living, like everything.
It affects everything living like everything, is what she said.
Like everything.
Like
Are you
everything.
talking about everything or just everything?
Everything. Being yourself. Anybody else have one? I have no idea. It was just a question to see what you thought. So reproduction, really vital for the species. Is reproduction essential for the individual?
Yeah.
No. No.
But then if it's not for every individual, there wouldn't be people.
If you don't reproduce, do you die? No. But
there's
if
no
nobody reproduces, we go extinct, right? So it's important. That's the one that's different because it's important for the species, but it's not important to the individual. If you don't do homeostasis, do you die?
Yes.
Yes, you die.
What? It affects, it's like sweating and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Homeostasis.
It's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
It's like when
Right.
a dog
Remember, it's
dies.
always the answer. Gentlemen in the back, please.
Peeing.
So it's everything. So homeostasis does affect everything. So if something happens in any of your homeostatic control mechanisms, you get too hot and you don't sweat, now it increases your body temperature internally. It denatures your brain proteins. We're going to talk about that in chapter 3, but it means it permanently changes the proteins in your brain and they never go back to the way that they were before. If you don't have enough water and your body doesn't say, hey, drink some water, then you're going to not just become dehydrated, but it's going to start taking it from your cells and they're not going to be able to do the reactions that they need to do. It's also going to increase your body temperature. So homeostasis is pretty important. Remember, the answer is always homeostasis. My B group, when I was talking about this yesterday, there's a lab aide, and the lab aide said, seriously, the answer is homeostasis. So if on the keystones, you are taking a test on the keystones, and one of the options for an answer is homeostasis, that is the answer. On one of my tests, if homeostasis is the option, the answer is homeostasis. It is that important. Good. So let's talk about the diversity of life. We will be looking at evolution, which is change over generation. So descent with modification. Not super big changes. It's not like you wake up one morning and you're totally different. It's going to be small things. What are the things that are passed on?
Wait, what?
Yeah, heredity passes things on. But generally, are good things passed on or bad things passed on?
Both.
Good things.
Both happen sometimes. We want the good things to come through. Sometimes the bad stuff is passed on, but often those things that are passed on that are bad are going to be not passed on until we are older or until you are have already had children. B group, there's somebody at the door, hang on. You are going to be heard on the speaker, so.
Don't look
Okay.
around.
I'll fix it. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll fix it. I made a mistake on a grade. That's all it was. Okay, so descent with modification is small changes over a long period of time. Individuals do not change, populations change. Okay, the bad things that are passed on are usually passed on after you have children. So you don't know that you're a carrier for this type of disease, and so, or what disorder, whatever it is, and you pass that on to your children before you even knew it. What do we call the good things that are passed on?
Whoa. I don't know.
What are those good things, like your thumbs?
DNA.
Who learned this in Mrs. Cox's class? I don't think it's in your notes. Oh, they're searching their notes. It's not in your notes. It's in your brain.
Cheating.
Wait, do we have hints? I got this.
Starts with an A.
AIDS.
Asexual?
What?
Yeah.
Saying that?
Not AIDS. Not asexual reproduction.
No.
Adaptions. Good. Or an adaptation. Yes, that is correct. It is. So they're adaptations or adaptions, things that are good that you can pass on. Why are your thumbs come in handy?
Fingerprints. Writing.
I don't know.
Writing.
Typing.
But evolutionarily,
Texting.
like texting doesn't really help you survive.
Giving a thumbs up.
Giving a thumbs up doesn't help you survive.
It's
It's how you grasp, exactly. So you being able to grasp things like a weapon or something like that so that you can protect yourself, those are things that are going to be evolutionarily important. To launch the football, that is super important for
That's
life.
the only reason some people are alive. So.
Natural selection, remember that is passing on those good characteristics, ladies. And it is where the favorable traits are passed on. Yes, sometimes the unfavorable traits are passed on. Those will sometimes eventually leave populations. Sometimes they don't. But in natural selection, that is where the fittest survive, not the most, we can't talk, athletically fit, but the ones that are best able to survive, and it's not there. Oh, there it is. And reproduce. Because it's awesome if you survive, but we're really looking at the reproduction, we're looking at the continuation of the species. Ooh, I forgot to tell the people who are here today. So the plan today is that we're going to finish this chapter today. No, we're not. We're going to come close to, yes, we're finishing the chapter today. Tomorrow, we are reviewing for your test. So when you're watching the video tomorrow, it's going to be your test review. And if we don't finish the notes today, it'll be the rest of the notes. And then on Tuesday is your test. So group A, your test is on Tuesday. So the next time I see you in class, you will be taking a test. And then group B, their test will be on Wednesday. Yes.
This test is there vocabulary in it, like 1 through 10?
I think so.
Okay, she asked if there is vocabulary on the test, the 1 through 10. No, those are standalone quizzes that will be like separate in class.
So it's just hard to...
So it is going to be the stuff that's in the notes.
Okay.
Yes, and tomorrow's video I'll review and do it again. Okay? But it is the stuff, and remember, it's the stuff that's underlined. So as you're taking notes, that's what you're seeing. The stuff that's underlined is going to be on the test. I lied, it is their adaptation. Those are those traits that are helpful, that are going to help you not only survive, but also be able to reproduce. We're going to look at 2 different fields of biology. I don't remember what time this class is over. What time is this class over? 34. Okay, so one of the fields is biology. We're going to spend a little more than half of the year talking about biology, but there's different fields to biology. We are also going to look at ecology. That's what you learned in Mrs. Cox's, what does she call it now? Integrated Science 9? Okay, so that's what the big chunk of Integrated Science 9 was. So we don't spend as much time on that because you've already had that, and we are going to do it just as a review. Okay, but that'll be the second half of the year. In ecology, we do study ecosystems, communities, biomes, populations. We hit all of that in the ecosystems. We're going to look at the scientific method today, and the scientific method, so you've had this every single science class that you have ever taken from the time you were in, like, I don't know when you start learning science over there. Isn't it like 3rd grade, 4th grade? Something like that, 1st grade. I don't know when you started. I know that they're starting STEM with like 2nd graders now, which is awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So the scientific method, each time you learn it, it's going to be a little bit different. There is not going to be a question like, what is the first step of the scientific method? What is the 3rd step of the scientific method? Because the scientific method isn't something that really, I mean, it has steps. I'm going to teach you steps. I'm going to say this is the first thing you do and this is the second thing you do. But in reality, it's just a way of thinking. So you use the scientific method this morning. You woke up and you probably like looked outside or checked the weather app on your phone and you were like, or you did the other day, and you were like, today, because it's supposed to be this temperature, I'm going to wear this, right? Did you do that? You made an observation of what the weather was going to be like. I know some of you just wear the same thing every day. I get it. But you may have. And so you looked and you're like, oh, it's going to be hot later today, so I'm going to wear shorts and a tank top. But it's chilly now, so I'm going to wear a hoodie. So you made an observation. You made a hypothesis because you were like, oh, I'm going to get cold later, or I'm going to be cold this morning, so I'm going to wear a hoodie. And then you experimented because you walked out the door and you had that hoodie on and it helped keep you warm. Or because it does get kind of chilly in the air conditioning, you brought a hoodie. You're comfortable now, maybe, because you have your hoodie on. And then you'll do it again on Tuesday when you're here. You'll check the weather, you'll plan your outfit, that's it. Every single decision that you ever make in life, you use the scientific method, whether or not you realize that you're doing it. So really think of it more like that. And so, but it has to be specifically for science, we have to do 2 things. First of all, it has to be events in the natural world that have natural causes. Science does not deal with anything supernatural. So when you see some of those shows that are like the science of ghosts, it's not really science, because it's not science, because it's not in the natural world, and it doesn't have a natural cause. Second thing is uniformity. What does that make you think of when you see uniformity? Football uniforms. And your football uniforms, are they the same or are they different? Like on your team. They're all the same. They have different numbers, but they're all exactly the same. Uniformity in this context means things that happen now happen at the same rate that they have always happened. So if it takes 1,000 years to lay down a rock layer, it took 1,000 years to lay down this rock layer and 1,000 years to lay down that rock layer. If this reaction occurs now, it has always occurred like that. Those are the 2 important principles of the scientific method. A time out from that, you people are missing out by not being able to wear uniforms to school. I know you would hate uniforms. They are the best thing in the world.
What?
Yes. My kids have to wear uniforms to school, and I buy 5 short sleeve shirts, 5 pairs of shorts, 5 long sleeve shirts, 5 pairs of pants, and I'm done for the year. And it's awesome.
That's not cool.
Awesome.
Look at my dress.
I love it. It is glorious. I just lay them out on Sunday night, and I like make sure that they don't wear the same color, because there are certain colors they can wear. Make sure that they don't wear the same color 2 days in a row. Done. Love it.
I feel like I'll lose.
I like
Oh wait, never mind.
I will tell you when this is off. Yeah.
So I thought.
Yeah. Yes, it is
I
marvelous.
would move schools.
So I don't think any students would
There's no way
care
I
actually did like
That's right. It's not as common here. I went to college in South Carolina, and it's real common there, and even the public schools. A lot of like the Atlanta schools wear uniforms. A lot of the southern states, the public schools wear uniforms. Here we don't. I don't know why. Ooh, there it is. Does not follow a rigid set of rules. And after I said does not follow a rigid set of rules, I'm going to tell you these steps in order. So, number 1, we already looked at it, an observation. You make an observation. What do you use to make an observation?
your eyes.
Eyes, what else?
No. Well, your five senses.
Your five senses, exactly. You use your five senses. Not always a super awesome idea to go into a lab and start licking things. I would not do that, but you could. Same thing with smelling. You don't want to just like see some chemicals and be like, wonder what this is, and then just put your face in it and start smelling it. That can also be bad, but we do use our five senses. Second, you make a hypothesis. Back in elementary school, and maybe in middle school, you learned that a hypothesis is an educated guess. And that is a great elementary definition, but it's not really accurate. You're going to find as you progress through your sciences that some of the things that you learned as a kid maybe are changing a little bit. So some of the things that we learn in here, it's going to change if you take AP Bio. And then it'll change again whenever you get to college biology, just because there's more to it. Okay, so an educated guess, great thing to tell little kids. For you, it is a testable, possible explanation, because it does have to be able to be testable. We have to check out its validity somehow. I can make a hypothesis that the sky is blue because Smurfs urinated in the sky and made the sky blue. But there is no way for me to test that. That is not a hypothesis. I cannot test it. And it also has to be falsifiable. That is also not a falsifiable hypothesis because I can't test it, so I can't say that it's not true because maybe it is the Smurfs.
That'd be so cool.
Then you make a prediction. A lot of times the scientific method in different books doesn't have this. Your textbook happens to have this one, so whatever. But the prediction is what's going to happen if my hypothesis were true. Then you do an experiment. What is the type of experiments that we do? There's a word that usually goes before experiment. Not physical.
Test.
Oh, that might be
Nope.
bad.
Control.
Controlled experiment.
Ew,
Good job.
right. Oh my god.
In a controlled experiment, we're going to have two groups. We're going to have the control group and the experimental group. How many things change in the control group?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing changes in the control group. Everything is the same in the control group. How many things change in the experimental group?
Everything.
One thing changes. This is a different color. I don't remember why this is not a different color, but is it in your notes? Like in your printed notes?
No.
Okay, make sure you write that down and make sure you know that. In a control group, nothing changes. In an experimental group, one thing changes.
It's already in it. I was just
It's there?
color.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Good. I thought maybe I forgot to put it in.
No. Okay.
So over
Oh.
the quarantines,
So where are we going?
I so moved into a new house last summer and then didn't have any landscaping. So because of quarantines, we're home and it's like, let's do some landscaping. So I did lots of landscaping. And as I was doing this landscaping, like I did it, and then I'd have to water it, and I found that I really love to water my plants. I don't know why, but I just enjoyed being out there with my little babies. And I would put my AirPods in, and I would listen to music. Usually if it was like really hot, I'd water them twice a day, like in the morning and in the evening. And it's like a 50-50 shot of if I was listening to like really some hardcore gangster rap or Broadway show tunes. And as I would be out there, either one, I would watering my plants. I would also generally be singing to them or rapping at them and also dancing. My neighbors found it quite amusing. Yeah, like there's a teenage girl next door and she's like, my friends and I were trying to get your attention, but you were dancing too much and we couldn't get you. She's like, so I was gonna take a video and put it on the TikToks. I'm like, do not put videos of me on the TikToks, dancing and watering my flowers. But let's say my plants are doing awesome. Awesome, by the way. Like I have these huge hydrangea bushes. They're gorgeous. I love them. I didn't know I was a plant lady. I grew a garden. I have 1 billion tomatoes and banana peppers. I love it. So I made a hypothesis that if I sang and danced to my plants, they would grow bigger.
Could be correct.
Could be correct. Now, what is the problem with my hypothesis?
It's not necessarily that true.
Well, it could be true or not, but here's one of the hardest things to do in science. One of the hardest things to do in science is be wrong, because we want to be right. So we want to make that hypothesis and know that it's right, but that's not science. The best science happens when you're wrong. So the best science happens when I'm wrong and I find out, oh, I'm wrong, and then I have to figure out why I'm wrong. So that's when you're really learning.
Technically, you breathe out carbon dioxide, so then plants take in carbon dioxide.
Right. No, you're not trying to figure out if it were true or not. You're trying to figure out what's wrong with my hypothesis. If I sing and dance to my plants, they will get bigger. What's the problem? What's the problem? Because I'm doing a controlled experiment. So what's my problem? What am I doing to them? I am
Singing and dancing.
singing and dancing. What's the problem with this?
Did them to all your plants?
I did two things. I sang and I danced, right? So, plants don't have eyeballs, so the dancing, I get that. But the singing and dancing, that's two things. I can't actually do a controlled experiment because I changed two things. In a controlled experiment, you only change one. So what I would have to do would be, with my plants, I'd have to make sure that they have the same soil, they have the same light intensity at the same times during the day. They need to have the same amount of water, and they're the same plants. Okay, so, and I do, because I have multiples of the plants. And as I'm watering them, one I would not sing to, and the other one I would sing to. Okay, or I could choose dancing, but I would have to do two separate experiments, one for singing, one for dancing. Okay, that's the problem with my hypothesis. I'm testing two variables. It has to be just one, either singing or dancing. It can't be both. The independent variable is the thing that is changed. The dependent variable is the thing that is going to be measured. And here comes my second problem with my hypothesis. What did I say? My plants would grow what?
Bigger.
Bigger. Oh, maybe that would be okay. How would I measure bigger? I can, right? I can just like measure them, get out a tape measure and measure bigger. What if I said that they grew better?
Healthier.
No, not necessarily better. Healthier would work, so maybe that means that they're growing and thriving, but I can't just say better. Or if I said my tomatoes were better, I couldn't, because that is something that we call, that's not what I thought was next. We'll talk about a blind experiment in a minute. That is something that I call qualitative data. Qualitative data would be the tomatoes are better. Does anybody in here super hate tomatoes? You don't want to see a stupid tomato ever in your life? You. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. So if I grow the best tomatoes that have ever been grown on this planet and you eat them, are you going to like them?
No.
No. He's still not going to like them. He said they're still horrible. Exactly. That would be qualitative data. He's never going to like them, no matter what happens. As opposed to qualitative. I could say my tomatoes I'm going to produce more tomatoes. So like maybe the one that I sing to makes 30 tomatoes, and the ones that I don't sing to make 10 tomatoes. Okay, it's a number. It's something we can physically measure. Often when we do experiments, I'm going to go back to this one, we do what's called a blind experiment where the experimenter doesn't know which group is which. It's a mask break. You can take your masks off. So if, for example, I'm like a paid scientist and I am being paid to do an experiment and I'm being paid to see if your medicine works, like you're a drug manufacturer and I'm testing it, if you tell me that I'm going to get $1 billion bonus, that's too many words, $1 million bonus if this drug works, do you think I'm going to make sure that drug works? Oh yeah, I'm going to make sure that that drug works. So it's not true science. They don't actually do that. But that's what we do, a blind experiment, so that the experimenter doesn't know which is which. The person coming in wouldn't know which tomatoes had been sung to and which tomatoes had not been sung to. Once I collect my data, I draw a conclusion. A hypothesis can only be disproved. It can't be proven all the time. But if I think it works, then what do I need to do? Look into it more. I need to do it again. And again and again and again. And I need to continue doing this until, where'd it go? I come up with a theory. Now, this will be on your keystones as well. This is always on there. A theory in science is different than a theory in life. So a theory in life would be, I don't know, the geese that were on the baseball field are here because they really like to listen to my science lectures. That's a theory. That's my theory. A theory in science isn't like that. A theory in science has science behind it. To the best of our knowledge, it is the accurate answer. We had a theory for a really, really long time that the Earth was the center of the universe. Then we changed that. That was called the heliocentric theory. And if you went against the heliocentric theory, they like burned you at the stake. But we eventually realized that it wasn't. What's actually the center of the universe? The sun. Geocentric theory was the Earth. Heliocentric is the sun. Right, we changed it. No. A kid said, I am the center of the universe. Not me. She is. She's not. It can be revised. What are some, in science we have very few laws. What are some of the laws of science that you know of? Gravity. Laws of gravity. We have some laws of thermodynamics, of energy, laws of motion. We know that those happen throughout all space and time. Gentlemen. So there, in science, though, are very few laws. Generally, the laws or the things that we consider to be a theory doesn't mean they're true, doesn't mean that they have science behind them. They are, for all intents and purposes, that they are accurate. However, for whatever reason, we cannot call it a law. And these can be changed. We had a theory that the Earth was flat, and then we sailed, and we didn't fall off the end, and we realized, look at that, it's not flat anymore. It is disappointing. It is round. Theories can be revised. And then we communicate our ideas. So you publish that through whatever journal is in your field. And then people will often say, hey, you know what? I saw that you published this. Here's data that I have that is against what you said. So then they'll change that. Any questions? Okay, so that concludes our notes. B group, tomorrow when you're in class, we're going to review for your test because you'll be physically in the building. A group, you're going to need to watch that review because A group, your test is on Tuesday. B group, your test is on Wednesday. And I will see you, B group, tomorrow.